All right, so I'm here with Jet Joy.
Hello.
Your initials are JJ.
They are.
So, I mean, I've come up with a couple of nicknames here. So, obviously, there's Jet Joy. I could call you JJ.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can call you Core JJ because that already exists.
Yeah.
You were 2000 LP, so I could call you JJ2K. That's pretty fire.
It's not bad.
So, a lot of people, when they think of you, they draw comparisons to Patrick Bateman. And my thoughts on that is like, I mean, Bateman could also be said as Bateman. And I've heard from your teammates that you've baited your support to roam top when you heard Nautilus's footsteps.
Mm-hmm. I did hear his footsteps. It was really scary.
How do you hear Nautilus's footsteps?
I don't know. I just like something weird was happening in my headset, and I knew that something was off.
Was he top though?
I think he was on Raptors or something.
So would you feel better about yourself if you had your support shadowing you and your AD carry was 1v2 getting dove?
Yeah.
Honestly, that's fair enough. So like now that we're transitioning into getting to know you a little bit more, if I had $1 for every Australian top laner that lost a lot of weight in a short period of time, I'd have $2, which in this economy is like basing with 75 gold. What do you do with 75 gold?
Save it for later.
That's how I know you're a solo queue player. Mm-hmm. So kind of run me through your weight loss journey. What inspired you to lose a lot of weight? And do you feel like it affected your performance at all?
I mean, I looked in the mirror and I was like, damn, I'm fat. And that's when I knew something had to change. I don't think it affected my performance. If anything, like bring back fat chat, that was better.
Do you think in losing body weight, you also lost mechanical prowess?
100%.
So like, would you then say your peak was when your weight was at its peak?
I think so.
So like, what are some of like the keys to you losing a lot of weight, would you say?
Playing in tier 2 in North America definitely helped.
But how?
Well, we get paid about as much as McDonald's workers, maybe a little less. So got to save it up, you know?
So by not being able to afford food, you inadvertently lost a lot of weight as a result.
Yeah, great experience overall.
So are you now advocating for players to be paid less?
No.
That's what it sounds like.
Look, I'm just saying there's silver linings to everything.
Fair enough. So like moving on, upon researching, I found out that there's actually a publicly traded company with the ticker. And for those who don't know what a ticker is, it's an abbreviation you see on the stock market. There's actually a publicly traded company called Srtty. It is an e-commerce platform. And in the last 6 months, their stocks are up about, I believe it was 3%. So where would you say Srtty stocks are at right now?
Up 300%. I'm starting an LCS.
So like, if you were a day trader, would you invest in Srtty, the player? I don't give any financial advice. So don't invest in the actual company. But if you were theoretically a publicly traded product, would you invest in yourself?
I mean, I'm looking quite bullish right now, if I have to say so myself.
I would agree. I'd say you're looking quite bullish.
Yeah, I think it's going up.
More or less bullish than Alistar?
Maybe a little less.
When your support on stage picks Alistar, like, are you happy? Are you sad? What are you thinking?
I mean, it depends. Sometimes supports will do this thing where they'll be like, you know what, Alistar looks really good here, and they're just verse double range and unable to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, growing up when I was in high school, I watched a ton of Helicopter, and from all the people I've talked to over the years, I've found that AD carries coincidentally tend to hate Helicopter, but top laners tend to love him because he'll show up behind your tower level 2.
I mean, you remember what we were saying earlier about the Nautilus footsteps?
Yeah.
Well, Alistar and Helicopter, here's the footsteps for the enemy top laner.
So typically, I mean, I don't know if Alistar weighs more than Nautilus, but like, I feel like when you think Alistar, you think Cal, you think Moo. Can you move for us?
Moo.
That is a level 2 Alistar if I've ever heard of level 2 Alistar. So you spent a lot of time between NA and OS. I feel like most of the people associate you more with OS. Do you resonate with one or the other more than the other?
Probably more with NA, although I do think I'm like Australian at heart. I didn't really spend any time playing competitive over there, right? I only played 1 year of solo queue in Australia.
So they call Australia the land down under, correct?
Yes, they do.
So would you say your career went down under after EG Academy?
I'd say it went down under when I joined EG Academy.
I mean, you were rumored to be on the LCS roster. Talk to me about that.
Well, you know, normal esports shenanigans. Things happen. It is what it is.
I mean, the slogan is live evil, and that was pretty evil. So
I think they've always lived pretty evil.
What's the most evil thing they've done to you that you can say without getting a cease and desist in the mail?
What is the most evil thing they've done to me?
Can I personally share things I've heard?
Yeah, go for it.
Told me that the food at EG was fucking dog shit when you paid for them.
Yes.
Was the food fucking dog shit?
Well, the academy players weren't even allowed to eat the food.
So that's how you lost your weight.
Yeah, in part.
Interesting.
I kind of forgot about that actually because it was so long ago. But basically, one of the people who was friends with the CEO at the time at EG, if she saw the academy players eating the food, we'd get in trouble. Even though there was so much food that there was like piles and piles of it every single time after mealtime, if the academy players were seen by her getting food, they'd get in trouble, despite there being stacks and stacks of food.
Oh, you probably don't know the answer to this, but why?
I think she just hated us.
Were you guys bad?
Not when I joined. We made finals.
Did you win finals?
No,
Who'd you lose to?
disguised.
If you lose finals, do you think you should get to eat dinner?
Probably not.
I heard in the FlyQuest video that you filmed not too long ago, I think it was a few months ago, you mentioned how, I don't know how unironic this was, but you said you were playing 23 hours and sleeping 1 hour during the peak of your grind. Is this true?
Yeah, dead serious.
So would your hunger for caloric, I guess, satiation, was it then replaced with a hunger for LP?
I think so. I didn't really get hungry in a traditional sense, but I was definitely queuing up.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, when we eat food specifically for when you're trying to lose weight, some of the macronutrients that matter are fats, protein, carbs, etc. So what do you think are the macros of a singular solo queue game?
I think it's like 99% salt, honestly.
So then it's not really that diet friendly.
I would not say so. But in the short term, it definitely gives you a lot of energy.
Really? I've heard the opposite. I heard it drains the life out of you.
Well, think about it like this. If you don't have any life in you, then you can just focus on the game. There's no outside distractions.
I guess if there's nothing to lose, you can't lose anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't remember what body fat percentage were you on stage when you, like the FlyQuest finals? Because I think someone mentioned it or you mentioned it. What body fat percentage were you at?
I was probably between like 9 and 12.
Not too shabby. Do you have abs?
Right now, yeah. And back then too.
You don't have to show me them. I'm like chilling, but like
I'm not going to, don't worry.
okay.
Bro wants to see.
So kind of like run me through like, I guess, what does a day in the life of Srtty look like now? And what do you think is going to look like now that you joined Dig? Because I feel like when you're in tier 2, you have all the time in the world to train, but
100%.
how do you think it's going to change going into LCS next year?
Okay, so right now, I'm still a full-time student. I'm taking stats, I'm doing a pre-calc class, and I am also doing public health. So I'm fulfilling my credit requirement to be like a full-time student. The thing is, I haven't done math in a long time, so doing like the pre-calc class without like knowing anything going into it, it's taken up a lot of time. And so like with that on top of streaming and everything, I haven't really had much time to play solo queue or like had the energy to make the time that I put into solo queue like worthwhile or good quality. Like right now, I'd say I wake up, today I woke up at I think 9:30 a.m. I try to wake up relatively early because like schedule just helps in general with like everything. Then I go and I grab a coffee and go to the shower. If it's an espresso, I'll just like down it and then go shower then. Like the faster I drink the coffee, the faster the caffeine hits my system, faster I can play League, you know? Go shower, get ready for my day, brush my teeth, all of that jazz. Then I sit down on my computer, I study or I play League, and then I do that the entire day.
So you mentioned how you study. Now you also do play quite a bit of AP tops. Is this true?
Yeah, I do.
I heard you claim you're the best Aurora on the server. Do you think this still stands?
100%.
So would your favorite book then be The Lost Chapter?
That was good. I like that.
Or do you prefer Morellonomicon?
Morello sucks.
Morello sucks?
Have you ever heard of LS?
Have I heard of LS?
Have you heard of him, and what do you think of Morellonomicon?
I mean, that guy also put salmon sperm on his face, so...
That's true.
Have you ever personally put any kind of sperm on your face?
I have not, but I definitely wouldn't put Oblivion Orb in my shop.
What, like, do you think you're more likely to put sperm on your face or have an Oblivion Orb in your inventory?
Oblivion Orb in my inventory.
I'm gonna send this clip to LS.
Oh god.
I feel like you might get in trouble. More trouble than if you were to get salmon sperm.
Okay, thank god I'm not with Fly anymore. It would be over for me.
Oh yeah, I think you might get a pretty quick DM following the moment he hears that right click.
100%.
Yeah. So I guess now that you have made it to, okay, no one's calling it the fucking LTA, but now that you made it to the LTA, what are you like most looking forward to outside of the game? Because like League of Legends is the same game whether you're playing tier 3, tier 1, but what is like the thing you're looking forward to the most outside of the game?
I can't believe you just called it LTA. Anyways, I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is like the lack of things outside the game that there are going to be. I'm kind of a degen when it comes to League. I play a lot, like a lot. And I have a feeling I'm just going to be sitting in the dig house playing League like 14 hours a day, no mercy.
Yeah, I mean, last year, most of the Dignitas roster had girlfriends. So if Sven ever sneezed, it would echo through the hallways.
Oh my God.
Now, I mean, I'd have to do another survey, but there's a good chance it might be mostly empty if the players have girlfriends.
It might be. I mean, if that's the case, then quiet environment, easy to focus, you know?
Yeah, I don't think the roster is going to be officially announced by the time we drop this video. But if you had to, I mean, I'm assuming you know all 5 or all 4 of your
I
teammates.
have an idea.
So in that case, including yourself, how many players do you predict will have a girlfriend at the start of next year?
Oh God. Hopefully fewer than more. Let me think. 1, 2, 3. Do wives count?
Do you just hint at Isles being your support?
I didn't do anything. I just asked a question.
Do wives count? I think they count if the player is good.
Okay, I'd say counting wives, possibly 3. Possibly 3.
So that's 60% of the team or 60% of the players.
I know, not good numbers.
Do you anticipate this affecting your guys' performance on stage?
I hope not. It won't affect mine, but I can't speak for anybody else.
Because I've talked to like multiple people about this. I talked to Pobelter, gosh, it was quite a while ago, but I talked to him and I asked him, do you think girlfriends are the downfall of the LCS? What do you think?
I think that LCS players getting in relationships with people who aren't able to respect their career is the downfall of LCS, not girlfriends. I think there's a big difference.
Honestly, it's a very mature, eloquent response. Are you being held at gunpoint by your girlfriend to say that PR statement?
Maybe more than just gunpoint, but...
What's your favorite thing about your girlfriend?
How nice of a person she is and how understanding she is of my situation and what I'm trying to do.
I might need to subpoena this guy's PayPal logs. This is like some crazy PR. I can't lie to you. So now we're going to go ahead and like shift forward and now talk about your competition. So some of the players, obviously like Impact is a well-respected name. Whippo's been around for a while. I think Fudge has gone like, I know his last split wasn't the greatest, but I think people kind of minimize and forget how good he was not too long ago.
Yeah, so about Fudge, I think that when you actually look at like the timeline of top laners in the LCS, you have to like put respect on his name, you know? Like objectively coming in, especially because a lot of people when he first promoted thought he was like arguably the worst top in LCS and becoming one of the best for like, what was it, 2 years straight?
Yeah, I mean, when Fudge debuted, I think it's kind of, it sounds weird to say this, but the highlight of his life was on Lee Sin. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Lee Sin, what was it, MSI?
Yeah, it was against RNG. He like, so Fudge, he Q1s, I believe it was Ming, because Ming was a support for RNG at the time. He Q1s. Yeah, and then he ward hops over the Raptor camp, flashes, kicks Gala.
Play. Gala's forced to use his ultimate very early, and then look at this play from Fudge. He's going to use the Q, ward hop, flash, kick, man!
So good!
Beautiful!
Cashers go crazy. I was in the middle of a lecture and I jumped up and the professor thought like I had to piss my pants.
I mean, as you have to. Like, honestly, he did really good, and I think the hallmark of a good player, especially with NA, isn't the like regional performance. International is what's going to make like the NA fans proud and make people want to support you. Like what Masu just did with FlyQuest, that is a sick story. And that is like kind of the kind of player I want to be, where it's like you can show up on that big stage. Because honestly, like it doesn't matter if you do well regionally, if you go on the world stage and then a Korean top laner makes you go down 100 CS in lane. It's just pointless. And I think that Fudge had something, a factor, if you will, which allowed him to perform internationally. And I think you have to give him credit for that. If he can get back to that point, I definitely expect him to be good this year.
Yeah, and we talked about Fudge. You just mentioned Masu and yourself, all 3 players who spent varying amounts in academy. I mean, I think Masu's academy career is very short. It was like about a year, yeah. So how do you feel like the academy environment was conducive to your development? Because it almost seems like it's a scene that has been given up on and cast away. But how do you think it affected you? How did you think it helped you?
Okay, full transparency, like I'm going to be completely honest. I think that for individual improvement, like from staff supporting player improvement, academy is not good. I think what academy does is it creates a viable path for players to actually try. A region will die and a game will die when there are no new players trying to come up and do something. And if you lose that, like if you lose that academy system in NA, then you lose that pipeline to LCS. These players are probably going to stick around for like, 4 or 5 more years? Imagine no new names come up. Everybody's going to get bored of it. You need to have academy not because it's like some insane improvement mechanism, but because it allows players just the chance. All they need is that one chance to be able to prove that, hey, I actually am good. Because I'll tell you right now, Masu, everybody thought he was terrible in solo queue. Because this guy would just fight 24/7. I don't know a single person who said Masu would be good in Academy before he played in Academy. Every single person I know, staff, everyone, they were like really low on this guy. And if he never got that shot to play, then like we would have missed out on him entirely.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think now it's in this spot where it's like NACL after the start of next split, there's going to be no LCS affiliates because of the potential conflict of interest. So, I mean, I don't know if you have much of an opinion, but what would you say is like the best path for someone who wants to go pro? Let's say, I mean, I'm season 13 Masters 1 LP. It's like my claim to fame. But what would you say if I was theoretically challenger with some amount of amateur experience? What would be my highest chance path to pro?
Okay, highest chance path to pro. First thing is you need to hit high elo in solo queue. Now, unless you're like ungodly talented, and when I say ungodly talented, I mean like Danny level of like prodigy. Unless you are that, you're going to need to put in time to do that. As a result, I think that depending on your age, it obviously depends. I'm going to assume that, like, let's say you're like me, you're a college student. Minimize your credits. Still make sure that you're in school so you're not like shooting yourself in the foot. It's important that you have options, and it's important that you don't sacrifice your entire life if you don't have to. But minimize the amount of work that you have. Take easy classes for 2 semesters and give yourself a year to climb really high in solo queue and try and join a good team in Academy. And then make sure that your performance in Academy is one which will garner attention in one way or another. If that means while you are in college, you have to accept a spot on a team with better players for less pay. Like, I'll give an example, Sajed on Fly. I know for a fact he was paid less than the other players. Because, like, obviously when you're joining the team, it's like me, Quad, Chime, and Shaden. Like, everybody's like, who's Sajed? So Sajed took less money, but he got to play on what was the best team in NACL. And because of that, and him performing well, because he had what it took, he got noticed. And now people are actually giving him a nod. And that's what you need to do. You need to make certain sacrifices in order to make any kind of a dream a reality, but making smart sacrifices while enabling yourself and still betting on yourself is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, and speaking of Sajed, I actually have a story. I reached out to him for, any information or stories he's had with you, and he actually recalls towards the end of the split, you were playing Camille, and you refused to group, and then you said to your team, you guys know I'm 2000 LP, I know how to win games.
Okay, I'll actually give the context behind this. So I was playing Camille. I think it was versus Supernova, I was versus Faisal. I was up 10,000 gold on one as Camille, 3-4 items in side lane. I was going to end the game in a minute, and the only way it was possible for us to lose, like, I think that if I grouped and the fight went well, we would win the game faster. I know for a fact that in 2 minutes' time, if I do not group, this game ends no matter what the enemy team does. They can kill all 4 of my teammates, I'll end the game myself. It does not matter if they die. So I viewed that as a guarantee, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then in review, they were like, why aren't you grouping here? It's good to group here. I knew that if I did what I did, we would win the game. So I was like, okay, like, why am I being lectured on how to play Camille? I'm legit the best Camille player in the West. And then they explained their perspective, I explained mine, and we ended up just being like, okay, they're both good options. They will both win us the game. But I think that in competitive, something I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to trust my teammates, in the sense that the way that I was going to win that game was a solo queue way, where it doesn't matter what my teammates do, their Nexus explodes. But T1 will end the game 5 minutes faster, because Zeus will come behind the enemy. I remember they had a Talia, and that's why I didn't want to group, because Camille into Talia is really unplayable in team fights. But I know for a fact Zeus would have came behind that Talia, one-shotter, and then ended the game.
Yeah, but Zeus's passport is also Korean. Yours is, I believe, American?
And Australian, which honestly doesn't bode well.
Which one do you like? Do you prefer Australia or do you prefer America?
Low-key, maybe. Oh, that's hard. I'm not picking sides here, because I like to think that I represent both countries. But I'm pretty sure Australia has like a higher population density of Asians. So like I kind of have to rock with the Australian one so that I can like pretend I'm mechanically good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Interesting. I am not quite sure about the density of different ethnicities within both countries, but I mean, to build further on your unwavering confidence on Camille, 3 years ago you posted a kind of AMA, I guess, guide of sorts on the r/Camille main subreddit.
Oh yeah.
And at the very end, you included a little paragraph, and I'm not going to quote it exactly. I don't remember exactly what you said, but it's something along the lines of, for anyone who's wondering how I'm qualified, I'm the best Camille on the server. I have an 80% win rate. So what makes you so confident in your abilities?
Well, I like to think that usually it's confidence, not arrogance. And I'm confident because I can back up a lot of the things that I'm saying with like actual facts. So an example of this is, okay, I'm 2000 OP while maining Camille. It is true that I know how to win games on this character. For example, or like when I say, because something I'll say a lot when people ask me about what I think of myself versus tops that are currently in the I guess OTA now, is I'll be like, I know I'm mechanically better than them, and I know that in lane I can beat them. Those are the things I'll say. I will not say I'm a better team fighter. I will not say my macro is better. I don't have anything to prove either of these things because I have never played an LCS before, and I cannot say that. But what I do know is I have lane versed these people, and I have seen them click, and I have versed them dozens of times, and I can tell you without a shred of doubt in my mind, I know what the level is like mechanically individually, and I know I'm better.
So there's a coach for Cloud9 named Vigar V2, and he has a kind of like infamous soundbite. It goes like this. I'm gonna in post-production I will put the sound effect, but it goes like bad click.
I mean, I know what he means, like on God.
So do you see a lot of bad clicks when you scrim LCS players?
Well, when I think of bad clicks, I think of somebody doing unnecessary movement, whether that means like messing up your tethering or spacing. Like those can be bad clicks. I think sometimes when coaches look at it, they're like, oh, you click too far away from your character. I can't see that when I'm laning versus them. All I can see is their character control and when they mess up in important situations. And something that Zeus does a lot, if you watch his VODs, is when he is disengaging from a trade, he will click back in once or twice to see if he can get extra autos on them because they mess up the range tethering. LCS players mess it up all the time. And it could be a symptom of the ping being so high in solo queue. Totally valid reason. But this happens way too often in my mind for it to just be ping.
Interesting. That's actually very, very, very specific. Who do you think then is someone who makes the least amount of mistakes in regards to tethering?
I think it depends. The Koreans are actually really good at it, and I think it's symptomatic of them. Like, I don't want to use ping as an excuse for like NA players' performances and stuff. Obviously, we scrim enough on zero ping that it shouldn't influence anything. But it's just a coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence, but it's correlated that the Korean players who come over usually make less of these mistakes. So like an example is Castle, I'll use. He's really good at playing Na, and he doesn't make spacing errors on Na. Like very, very rarely he will. Or like Thanatos on some range champions, he's very, very good at it as well. But then you'll see a lot of NA players, or a lot of just like players in general. Like when I'm playing Cassandra into Na, they'll let me get that extra grasp auto as I'm leaving. But they won't, and that's the difference.
Yeah, so now that we've kind of discussed some of the other players you mentioned, Thanatos, you mentioned Castle, who are some of the players you may or may not end up facing once the rosters are officially announced. But I guess moving forward then in that case, talk to me a little bit about how you kind of stumbled, maybe skipped, maybe galloped, how you came across Dignitas as a team, what was attractive to this team versus some of the other teams that might have been looking for a top laner.
Okay, so at FlyQuest, I was the only player, I'm just going to like lay out my offseason. I was the only player who got an exit interview. They basically just said, okay, peace, you guys are gone. The day after Academy Finals to every other player, but then I had a meeting with Papa Smithy and Andrew Rudden, and they said to me, hey, we're really interested in you for 2025, but we're going to wait until after Worlds because we won the championship to see how things are going. Because originally when I was flown out to LA, I was flown out for my like deliverable thing too, but if they lost versus NRG, I was playing in playoffs. That is the state that FlyQuest was in. And they had an amazing run at Worlds. They had arguably the best international appearance in like probably 3 years. Would that be right?
What are you, like which NA run? Are you referring to the C9 run in 2021?
I think that their run this year versus
Genji.
Versus Genji was better than NRG's run versus G2, in my opinion.
I would argue personally yes, because even then I was saying low key, look, don't come after me. I was saying this is a fluke. There were people in A saying, oh, they might have a chance against Weibo. I'm like, the Shy is going to tickle everyone on this fucking team.
Yeah, I
but
could have called that too.
I would like to, like, I like all the players. I think they're very talented, but I think that it was definitely much of a fluke. Yeah. Whereas with FlyQuest versus Genji, it felt like they were playing their own style.
Yes.
And Genji was just straight up confused.
Yeah, I mean, I am personally of the belief that if you play the game that these Korean teams have played all day, every day for years, you're bound to make more mistakes than they are. That's not saying that you should force yourself away from your own strengths in order to do something weird. It's just that you should know that they're not unbeatable. And the reason why they can look like so flawless when they do what they do is because they've done so many reps of it. So when you put them in a situation that they're uncomfortable with, like that's when you can actually like really win. A good example of this is like the Nunu pick. They had no idea. Like Inspired was playing not that good of a game of Nunu, but these guys had legit no idea what the champion did. Like I think Doran TP'd in front of his face or something.
Yeah, well, like I believed he started TP after the snowball, and then he saw the E to root him.
Was it Keen?
No, it was Doran because it was against Hanwha.
Yeah.
That this specific moment happened,
yeah.
but I believe he also played it against Genji, maybe.
I think he did because I remember Chobi playing Cassidy into it.
Yeah, and I mean, on the topic of playing your own style in Korea, when you play these unique picks, it's called a Joker pick. Yeah. What do you think about the character, the Joker?
What do I think about the character of the Joker? Horrible person, evil guy. Yeah, that.
I mean, I believe one of his signature lines, it's a very long one. I believe it's either I was crazy once or I was insane once, something like that.
Okay, actually, this is something that I do believe in is I think that anybody who is the best at anything that they ever want to be has to be a little crazy in the sense that the sacrifices you have to make in order to become the best in anything with so many people trying to be the best at so many different things. It's a little absurd. You have to make a lot of sacrifices, and I think that all of the best League players have made these sacrifices, and you could call them crazy for that, but I think that like madness and greatness are like really closely aligned, and there's like a very thin partition dividing the two.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier before we started filming this interview, you mentioned how you were once locked in a dark room for up to 3 weeks, and all you could really do was play mobile phone games, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I had an eye surgery when I was 11, and as part of the recovery, I wasn't meant to look at light. So I had my dimly lit phone in my room, and it was like a pitch black room, and I was in there for 3 weeks.
So if you're not allowed to look at light, would you then ban Leona, or would you ban?
Probably Rumble. His flames are too bright.
Would you say the lights are too bright?
Perhaps.
All right, so since you were in a dark room and you said you'd most likely ban Rumble, but you also mentioned in order to be good at something, you have to be crazy about it. So would you say if you wanted to make the most improvement, you would lock yourself in a room and just play solo queue all day?
Yes.
So how do you, like, I guess, not go insane?
I can't go insane. I'm doing the thing I love.
Someone like Poe Belcher, I mean, I watch his streams pretty often. He streams like 9, 10, 11 hours, if not more at a time.
Yep.
And I asked him, how do you do this? And he says, like, I just enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I wake up every morning and I think to myself, Jesus, I can't wait to play League. And then I lose 3 games and I hate everything. But for some reason, every single time I wake up or every single time I'm away from the game, I get drawn back into it. And you can call that an addiction if you will, but if it's an addiction, it's serving me pretty well. So
then would you say you're in a toxic relationship with League?
I mean, I'm getting paid, so it can't be that toxic, no?
So in theory, League is a toxic... What do you call those things that pay...
Whales.
Not pay pig, not whale. Sugar daddy?
Sugar daddy.
So is in League a toxic sugar mommy?
Pretty sweet gig.
And people, like, when you're in a toxic relationship, they advocate for what is known as no contact.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've heard that before too. Actually, I've done it in the past. When I go back to Australia, I go through periods of no contact.
With League of Legends or your girlfriend?
With League of Legends. Not
Okay, okay.
I'd get killed. But
Actually?
maybe.
Are we safe?
I think so.
All right, good to know.
She's watching all of this anyways.
Oh, 100%.
Set up camera in the walls.
So, like, talk to me about, like, your experiences with no contact with League of Legends, because it sounds like, to me, like, if you were to not play League for a week, you might start scratching yourself.
No, I mean, when I go back home and I don't play League, it's honestly, like, super chill. Like, I'm very happy when I'm not playing League, but I prefer my life with it in it than without, and I think that's due to the fact that, like, you would say that I'm, like, Stockholmed to League at this point or something, because through every tough moment in my life, League has been there no matter what, so it's, like, that one constant. So it's, like, when somebody's in, like, a toxic relationship, it's hard to leave it because you're so used to the toxicity. It's like that. Where, like, with League, I'm so comfortable with it being in my life. It like, feels kind of weird or uncomfortable to be away from it.
That's actually really interesting because you touched, I mean, you briefly, like, I guess, brushed on like mental health topics. And do you feel like, I mean, you've been someone who's been pretty high elo for a while now, and you've been trying to go pro for a while. Do you feel like your mental health ever held you back from maybe promoting earlier?
Yeah, unironically, for probably about, I would have promoted 2, maybe even 3 years earlier if it wasn't for my mental health.
So, like, what do you think are, because I think people from all walks of life can have varying issues or different, I guess, kinds of mental health issues. What do you think is like the most common thing you've observed, like pertains to like League of Legends?
Regarding League, well, I have a theory, and I think that you will probably agree. I don't know, but basically, I think anybody who gets Challenger in League has locked themselves away from the world for some reason or another. I think if you put that much time into the game, you're running from something. I think that's the case for everybody in Challenger. Maybe not for the newer generations coming up because it's more like normalized, but especially for people from like my generation or earlier. If you were playing video games all day, there was a reason for it. You were hiding from something, whether it was school, whether it was from family. And naturally, when you're doing that, you're bound to have some kind of mental health issues, whether it's depression, anxiety, something that you're dealing with. I think it's really, really common for League players, especially in high elo, to have like issues with like social aspects of things, more normally like IRL relationships, which is why I think collegiate is so good for a lot of players, because it really helps build that part that we're missing from playing League. But yeah, I think I would say 95% of players who are Challenger are mentally ill in one way or another.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, I'm assuming you're doing a lot better now.
Yeah, I'm doing really, really good. I mean, no mentally ill person is waking up at 9:30 a.m. and taking a shower to go do the thing that they love every day.
So I feel like, I mean, as someone who's like also had my own unique struggles, I feel like it's a continuous progress of trying to get better. So what do you think were some of the keys for you kickstarting that, I guess, journey of improving?
Well, actually, I was kind of bad at self-reflection, but I was never one to push away the words of another person. So like even today, if somebody says to me, oh, you suck because of this, I'll think to myself, okay, they said this. Is this true? Is there any way that this could be true? Because I'm always trying to improve myself in a way or another. And I realized from what other people said to me that I wasn't the kind of person that I wanted to be. Like, I really strive to be somebody where I can look at myself and be like, okay, nice. I'm happy. I am happy. I am me. And I think that the biggest thing was being close to people who did actually care about me and pointed out some of the issues that it might have been hard to see myself having, like through my own retrospective process, and taking the outside perspective in order to like properly reflect and then improve the kind of person I was. Because anything that I ever said to anybody, whether it was in solo queue or something, my intention was never to, like, I never really wanted to hurt the person. It was never like malice. It was just emotional immaturity and me not understanding the weight that words can hold, and they can hold a lot of weight, like at the end of the day. And I think once I got put into perspective, it just came naturally. Being a better person just came naturally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, you know, in the heat of the moment, it's really easy to slip up. And as we mentioned earlier, mental health is definitely a continuous progress. So I don't think anyone ever really reaches their end goal. But if you could give maybe some words of advice, or what do you think about future Srtty versus maybe an older version of Srtty, say 2022, 2021?
What's the best piece of advice I can give? I think there's something that I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but at least for me, it definitely like rang very true. Where I heard somebody say that depression is anger turned like at oneself, anger at the world, anger at anything. And I think that when I heard that and I realized, oh wait, the reason that I'm so angry at everything and suffering so much is because I actually just hate the kind of person that I am. I think once I realized that, everything started getting better. It was not an instant like switch, obviously, but I think that really, really helped. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, because it's not to say that you are a terrible person and you don't deserve to be happy, or that you're like a bad person in general or anything like that, or people don't want to be around you. It's just saying you have a lot going on, but there are better ways to respond to the things that you're having going on than to just destroy everything around you.
Yeah, so I mean, I've talked to multiple different players, coaches, etc., and they feel like team culture can be really conducive to improving conditions like that. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on team culture? Because obviously you've been in person with Academy, but you've also been remote. Yep. So what do you think about team culture?
I think team culture is really, really important. Something that, and this is to any aspiring pros who end up in an in-person situation for one reason or another, if your team asks to do like bonding exercises with you, like whether it's like playing a board game or something, it's really, really important that you do that. You as a team need to actually understand each other and like each other. And there are so many teams. Like an example of this that I'm going to give is SKT, who just won the World Championship. We're struggling the entire year. These guys trust each other. These guys like each other. These guys work as a unit. They work together. They understand their roles and they trust each other. And because they are able to do that, when they're put in these extremely high stress situations, they're able to find something that works. If you're all playing your own game and all trying to be the hero and not understanding that as a team, you need to be a cohesive unit, when it comes to like important times, you're going to fall apart. It's only natural.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think like a lot of it, especially in a city like Los Angeles, there's so many different ways you could go about dealing with stuff like that. I mean, there's opportunities that hang out, but there's obviously opportunities to kind of fall into vices, whether it's like partying, clubbing, etc. So I've actually heard a lot of people say if the North American LCS was not in Los Angeles, we would win Worlds. Maybe if it was in Wyoming or North Dakota. So what state or what city, what area perhaps do you think would give North America the highest chance of winning Worlds if we were to base it out of there?
The tough thing is I think that you want it to be away from a like hyper urbanized area like LA, specifically because I already touched on how I think a lot of the people in high elo have their own issues. And obviously if you're young and you have your issues, you're going to try and find ways to cope. Those ways aren't necessarily going to be healthy, and having access to those things is bad. So I think that if we were in like a less densely populated area, a lot of players wouldn't have made the bad decisions that they made. And this isn't limited to LCS either. I've heard a lot of things about like Europe and China too. It happens everywhere. But I think that when you give young people who aren't very sure of themselves or don't have proper like support networks and stuff, like the ability, like either the money or the power to do certain things, they'll end up making bad decisions. So I think if you move to somewhere like, I'm just going to give an example, North Carolina, because I have some family in the US who's from there. The area which they're from is very quiet. I'm sure that you could find bad stuff there if you really wanted to, but for the most part, it's like, I feel like it's a bit more detached. It would be a bit harder to fall into those vices.
So you mentioned now good decisions, bad decisions.
Yeah.
Give me the best decision you've ever made and the worst decision you ever made as, I guess, within the context of you being a pro.
The best decision that I ever made was coming to America. And the worst decision I ever made was thinking that if I was good enough, my relationships with the people in the scene didn't matter.
That's interesting. So I guess, when you first came over, were you like not afraid to make enemies?
I made enemies with everyone.
And why is that?
Because I thought that at the end of the day, in a performance-based industry, the only thing that matters is skill. I didn't understand that we're not playing a solo game. Maybe if I was playing like Smash or something and it was just me and I was good enough, that would be the case. But when you are in a team game, if your teammates hate you or don't want to play with you, like the team's going to implode and you're going to fail, no matter how good you are. It doesn't matter who you are. You need to, for yourself and for everybody around you, be on good terms with the people who are important.
Yeah, and I think like for a lot of young players, they usually try to go C9. Were you trying to go L9?
I think I was definitely going L9 for a bit.
Do you have a favorite L9 member in that case? 'Cause I mean, some of them are very popular. Do you have a favorite one?
I think I liked like Self-Made and Obsess a while ago, like when I was younger. I just thought, like, I didn't like them because they said toxic things or anything like that. I just thought they were really good and I admired that. And I kind of related to them because I was like, I'm in this situation where I can't control my emotions and I'm toxic, but I'm also really, really good. And seeing these people get recognition and stuff, being in that situation too, made me relate, you know? I was like, damn, okay. It's still possible.
Yeah, and you mentioned Self-Made. There's actually another, I guess, amateur tier 2 or tier 3 player called Shelf-Made. Have you heard of that guy?
I think that guy comes in my chat sometimes.
Yeah, he's a chill guy. And unironically, I'm not joking, I'm pretty sure he has a teammate named LeBron.
That's crazy. I wish I was named LeBron instead of Srtty.
So then would your name be LeBron Joy? Or would it be James Joy? Like, where would you put the LeBron?
Just LeBron, nothing else.
Just LeBron, like no first name, no last, like just no last name?
It's in there.
So then what would your in-game name be if your name was LeBron?
LeBron.
So you'd be Dignitas LeBron?
Dignitas LeBron. It sounds pretty good, no?
Yeah, I mean, we used to have Rick Fox involved in the scene. He's a pretty big basketball, I guess, legend. If you could have dinner with LeBron or 2,500 LP in terms of like, rank one 2,500 LP, which one would you take?
I'll get 2,500 OP on my own if I have enough time. I mean, there's actually, like, on a more serious topic, there are a lot of people in the scene who take a lot of inspiration from basketball players, like some of the documentaries and stuff. They watch that. Like Jojo's a good example. His icon on Discord when he first joined LCS and for like so long, because I was on EG2, it was I think it was Kobe or something. It was some basketball player.
Unfortunately, I didn't have him on Discord back then. I still don't have him on Discord. Maybe that'll change in the future. But Jojopyun, if you're watching this, please friend me on Discord. LOL me here.
Gotta get him on, bro.
Do you ever like spend time with did you ever spend time with him outside of scrims really or?
Not really, no. I was kind of just like me, Tomio and Kerry would all just basically sit in the academy room because there's a separate room to the LCS team, and we'd just play League until 2 a.m. We didn't really leave or do anything.
Yeah, because I feel like, Jojopyun's obviously now in Europe, and his previous stint on C9 kind of left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. I believe the number was 43 or something like that, absences. Probably more if they were counting it, honestly. So, I mean, do you feel like, what are your thoughts on that situation? Because I feel like that was like the topic of discussion for at least a couple weeks.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about like C9 as an organ stuff because like I just went over how burning bridges is like something I don't want to do. But I think Jojo's really, really good. Really, really talented. I think that he is one of the few players to come out of the West who like legit good enough to like go toe to toe with the best Eastern players on the international stage. And I know that he works very hard. I think that he had the same thing on EG where it was like toilet issue where he'd always be late. I wonder if it's like, I don't know, some kind of autoimmune disorder or something else like that. But if it was, it would feel really bad to get punished for that for him.
Yeah, I agree. Did that ever piss you off?
Like Jojo being late?
No, I made a piss joke.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's okay. Understandable. So, like, I guess now that you're playing in the LTA, you've mentioned previous to competition. Mm-hmm. So, I guess, do you think this is going to be a steamroll? I mean, you're very confident in your abilities. Do you think it's going to be very, very easy?
I think it would be really egotistical for me to say that I'm going to jump into LCS and smash everybody. I know that I have my strengths, and I'm very fortunate where my strengths are the things that you need to be a good player internationally. Well, if my baseline, like individual skill level, was too low, I will never be able to do anything versus Eastern teams. But my baseline individual, like just a straight individual play, is good enough that I'm actually going to be able to contest people. So now I just need to pick up the rest of the pieces that these players might be better than me at, such as macro, etc., etc. The things that you learn from being in the environment of LCS. I'm expecting that I'll have some good moments when I join LCS. I'm not expecting to be the best player in my role until I've at least played a full year. I think if I play a full year in LCS, given my experience in scrims versus the best players like Impact and Bwipo, I think that I will consistently make decisions as good as them, and my hands will carry me. Yeah,
I mean, hopefully you don't smash everyone in the LCS. If you want to do that, you might need to take one of the rooms backstage because that might be a little bit awkward to do on stage.
Maybe a little.
Yeah, so I mean, they refer to top lane as an island. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if it was survival of the fittest on an island, who do you like your odds against? And who do you think would beat you in isolation on an island?
Like out of the top laners?
Out of specifically the top laners, like, if I took you and X top laner and put you guys on an island, survival of the fittest, this includes survival, combat, who do you think you could outlive and who do you think would outlive you?
I mean, low-key, just not Bwipo. That guy's like, he's wide, bro. He will like take me out. I'm not beating that guy in a fight. But versus... Who else are the other top laners? It's Impact, Sniper,
Fudge. Some of them aren't official.
I mean, Fudge is jacked out of his mind, no? That can't be a good call. That guy's ripped.
He lost so much weight so fast.
Yeah.
I talked to him about how he does it, and it's like kind of crazy.
How does he do it?
1 meal a day.
Okay.
He doesn't keep... I think a lot of people who go to the gym, they're worried about losing muscle. Yeah. I talked to him, I'm like, you are eating maybe 70, 80 grams of protein a day. Are you not worried? He says he doesn't care about losing muscle, which, like, I mean, do you care much about muscle or not really?
I mean, when I was working out, I care about a lot. I was having like 210 grams of protein a day and 1,600 calories. I did that for like 7-8 months. I go down to like 9% body fat. I was really jacked. Like, for example, I was on like chest press because I was just using the machines in my apartment complex. On chest press, I was repping like 250 pounds for 15 for 4 sets, and I was 150 pounds weight. So I was pretty fucking strong. I think that if you want to like body build, you should care about muscle. But like otherwise, I think just staying lean and like having a decent figure is nice. That's all I really care about. I care about aesthetics more than performance, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, this is not important. So, I mean, we said no to Whippo. We said no to Fudge. So, I mean, some of the other players, we have like Sniper. We have, who else is...
What's even announced right now is the question.
I'm trying to like say names without saying names. Like, I don't want to say any rumors. So, I'm trying to think who's like official. Because
You know what? Actually, just bring Sniper on the island. I won't even have to fight him. He's a Zoomer. This guy's going to die in 3 days.
dude, I love that guy. He is probably one of my favorite people. He's the funniest, like unintentionally the funniest motherfucker you will ever
Bro,
find.
he's somehow going to walk off a cliff. I just...
Yes, he's gonna walk. He's gonna see a shark and walk straight into the water.
There's just no chance.
He talks to actually funny enough. He also works out, but he only hits biceps. What do you think about that?
Honestly, like, do what you got to do, low bro. You got this.
Oh wait, hold on. I think Licorice is another top laner. What do you think about Licorice? Do you like your odds against him on an island?
Oh yeah, he's skin and bones, bro. I'd win.
He's skin and bones. Try to think who else there is.
In the LTA?
Oh, Thanatos.
Oh yeah, I think I'd beat Thanatos.
I think he's really smart, but I don't know about his survival.
I think he's really smart, but I'm confident he has no survival skills. Not that I have a lot myself, but I'm pretty sure it lasts.
So based on what I can gather, you'd rank yourself roughly third, maybe?
I'd rank myself probably below Whippo Fudge, and then like maybe below Impact on even footing with Impact, because Impact's kind of a beast, just like in general. This guy's like got his stuff figured out, you know? So like he's got to be able to do a pretty good job.
Yeah. So I mean, when you travel internationally, most flights can range anywhere from like I'd say roughly $1,000 to $2,000. Most PC setups are also about $1,000 to $2,000 for like a decent PC.
Yeah.
So if you were stuck on this island and you had, we'll give you $1,500. Okay. Would you rather take the ticket home? Would you rather get a PC to you and just play solo queue on that island?
But where's the outlet?
Don't worry about that. We'll figure that part out.
Bro, I'm sorry, but like I'm going home and then I'm working 2 weeks at McDonald's and buying a PC at home.
Is 2 weeks at McDonald's enough to buy a PC?
I mean, if you don't spend any of it, it probably is. Like if you're working 9 hours a day, like what is minimum in Los Angeles? Let's call it like 24?
At McDonald's is 20, I think.
20?
So like roughly if you're working like full time, which is 40 hours, 20, that's 800 a week. That's 1,600 over 2 weeks gross.
Yeah.
Then you pay tax. So you'd probably be left with like about 1,100,
1,200. I mean, if you build your own PC, you can get a good PC for 1,200.
I mean, when you first originally come to Challenger, or like I guess, did you hit rank 1 on the MacBook?
No, I hit Challenger.
Oh, so when you first hit Challenger, you want a MacBook with a broken mouse pad or a broken trackpad.
Yeah, so the first time I ever hit Challenger, I was playing on a MacBook Air with 30 FPS, and my trackpad was broken, and I couldn't click on half of it. And I mean, I somehow managed to get shot with that, so I think I'll be able to play on anything.
Yeah, I mean, when people are successful, they're typically referred to as having motion, but you're also on 30 FPS. So did you have motion?
I think if anything, I was starting to get motion sickness from how much my character would slide around.
Yeah, that is pretty fair. And I mean, using a trackpad, were those good clicks or bad clicks?
I mean, in my opinion, back then, they were good clicks, but I'm pretty sure if anybody watched my POV, they'd think I was the worst player alive, so...
Are you the best player alive?
Arguably.
Who do you think is also in that sentence or like in that, I guess, running for that best player alive title?
There's some other guy that I met in solo queue I think is really good. His name's Whitespace.
Is that not your ult?
No comment.
What do you think about me? Do you think I could potentially contest you for the best player alive?
I think if you set your heart on it and you work really hard, you've got this, Miha.
They say I'm the best Alistar in D1 to Masters.
Am I going to hear footsteps top lane?
Depends. Are you going to be nice to me?
I like to think I'm nice.
Then you might hear footsteps, but instead of being behind you, they'll be in front of you, standing by your side.
That's my goat. I like to hear that. Thank you.
Do you like when your support comes top?
I fucking love it. You have to dive top.
Yeah, so now that we've covered everything from bottom to top, do you have any closing remarks to anyone who might be watching? Fans, family, friends, your girlfriend who doesn't have you at gunpoint and have you on payroll? Take it.
Any closing remarks? Let me think. I think the only thing that I really have to say is I cannot wait until everybody in the region knows for a fact that I am the best top laner to come out of NA.
That's all?
That's all.
Typically in like movies, they do like a mic drop. You want to like drop the mic? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like and follow me here on Twitter.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter.